Thanksgiving meal and declared, "We cast our ballots, and you're no longer family." The crowd erupted in cheers as I gasped, whispering, "So, I suppose I won't be needing this anymore." I set a folder aside, calmly, even as the tension in the room thickened. She pulled it out and placed it on the table. She stood up from her seat, voice raised, "Before we carve," but then sat back down, her smile twisted. "There's an item that must be addressed first." The room fell still. Forks froze midair. My stomach nodded as I recognized the tone in her voice. She'd used that voice before, the one she used to get me uninvited from a birthday party when I was 14. The family had voted back then, too. Her eyes scanned everyone like a pageant queen waiting to be crowned. Furthermore, she said, "We've determined that you are not considered family." The room wasn't quiet anymore. It was giddy. My cousin Laura clapped like she was at a concert. Uncle Mitch lifted his wine glass to toast, clinking it against my mom's. Mom chuckled and said, "Well, someone had to say it." I sat frozen, staring at my plate. The stuffing had gone cold, but my anger simmered. My dad didn't look at me. He just drank deeply from his glass and muttered, "It's probably for the best." I leaned back and muttered, "Wow, you all really rehearsed this." Natalie grinned wider. "You've been toxic for a long time," she said. My mom, reaching for the cranberry dressing, added, "Let's not pretend we're close. It was like we were talking about the weather." "It's unanimous," someone added. No one spoke after that. I whispered, "Good." Then I reached into my suitcase and pulled out a thick folder. I placed it gently in the center of the table. It made a satisfying thunk as it hit the wood. Natalie blinked, then gave a mocking little laugh. I sat back in my chair, arms crossed. Her smile faltered slightly as she grabbed the folder. With her jaw clenched, she flipped it open. That same smug expression she always wore when she thought she'd won. She still had it. Then she paused. After the first page, her face drained. Her eyes widened. She flipped through a few more pages. Then, "Oh my goodness," she screamed, loud and sharp like in a horror movie. She knocked over her chair as she backed away, slamming the folder closed like it burned her hands. "You monster," she shouted, shaking. Joel, her husband, stood up. "What is this?" he said, voice echoing across the table. He grabbed the folder and opened it. His mouth dropped open. "Is this?" I nodded slowly. "It's all true. Every receipt, every screenshot." Silence fell so heavy. You could hear a knife hit the table. My mom's mouth hung open like she wanted to say something but couldn't. "You really thought I was the fool," I said, standing calmly. "Always quiet. Always the reliable one, the cash cow." But guess what? I looked right into Natalie's pale, still face. "Your performance is over." Joel flipped another page. "Let me explain how we got here," I said, voice steady. "Because Natalie didn't just fall asleep at the wheel. This started years ago. I realized, long before that dinner, that I wasn't part of this family, not truly. It was a slow realization, built brick by brick, betrayal by betrayal. I was never the favorite. Natalie was always the star, beautiful, smart, charming. She knew how to lie sweetly, straight into someone's heart. I appreciated her kindness at times, but I knew deep down that kindness was selective, conditional. I lived in the background. They didn't like how quiet I was. By 19, I moved out. I paid for everything myself. College, 2 jobs. I got zero help. Natalie? She studied abroad in Europe, then came back and married Joel. She looked like a LinkedIn profile come to life. Her wedding, which I helped pay for, cost half what mine did, but somehow she still managed 2 cruises. I never complained, even when they laughed at me for being the accountant of the family, even when I paid for Dad's dental surgery, even when Mom said the heat bill was overdue, even when I paid for Cousin Laura's private violin lessons. After she was shortlisted for a program, they always said, "Thank you," but their tone said, "Well, of course you would." They asked if I didn't want kids. Maybe that's why I had so much time and money. No husband, no kids, just my job and my dog. That's why I became the family ATM. Natalie called when Joel lost his job. She needed help with her car. It was just a little loan. Meanwhile, I was making 6 figures and she was barely getting by. $2,000 for her child's therapy. Insurance wouldn't cover it. She always called me because I always answered. At first, it was help. Then it became expectation. Then demand. They made little jokes. "No wonder you wake up early, you've got bills to pay. Must be nice to have no one to take care of but yourself. Do you even know what real stress is?" Natalie once sneered, "Get a life." All the while, she kept needing me. Joel kept falling behind. Then came the big one. "Would you co-sign a business loan?" she asked. "It's for our cafe, Natalie's Health Cafe." I said no. Then came silence. 3 months of it. No one called. Mom stopped texting. Dad sent a 1-word message. I was uninvited from the last family gathering. Natalie even blocked me after I posted an article about cutting off toxic people, but I didn't pout. I started collecting receipts, screenshots, bank transfers, messages, requests, because I wasn't crazy, and I wasn't going to be silent anymore. Have you ever had to stand up to your own family? Share a moment where you finally said, "Enough." Let's talk below. It had been 5 years since I last sent money to any of them, over $78,000 in total. Joel's rehab cost $8,000, then another $2,300. That so-called emergency dental work for Natalie? It turned out to be cosmetic veneers. Dad's back surgery was $12,000. Mom's credit card debt $6,000. I even covered Laura's move in costs for college. $4,500 was supposed to help her with an urgent tuition problem. That problem turned out to be a trip to Cabo. Not one of them offered to pay me back. They didn't even thank me after a while. They just took. When I stopped giving, they said I was being difficult. That's when I built the folder. Every email, every payment, confirmation, every Venmo note. Screenshots of Natalie accusing me of manipulation messages to her friends, where she called me a spineless cow. She had no idea I could see that private thread, and that was exactly what she saw when she opened the folder. She wasn't just exposed. She was dismantled page by page, transaction by transaction, as the rest of the family finally saw what had really happened. My mom looked like she might faint. Joel was reading one line over and over. $4,200 charged to a Santa Monica hotel with a woman named Alyssa. He turned pale. "Excuse me, I don't know what this is," he said, blinking hard. I spoke up. "Oh, you know, that's the one you stayed at for 3 nights. Same card Natalie uses for everything. Yours, right?" Joel turned to Natalie. "Who's Alyssa?" His voice was low but heavy. She didn't answer. "Wait," my mom said, raising both hands like a referee. "Can we all calm down?" I nodded. "Let's have a rational conversation. Like when you called me a parasite while I was paying off your credit card." Mom narrowed her eyes. "That's not fair. We were struggling." "No," I cut her off. "You weren't struggling. You just didn't want to change. You let me carry your burden because it was easier." My voice trembled as I turned to Dad. "You watched them do this for years. You heard it, saw it, and said nothing." He didn't deny it. Natalie clenched her fists. "This is revenge. You're bitter because we don't need you anymore." I exhaled slowly. "No, I'm not bitter. I'm done." She scoffed. "This is pathetic. A folder? Screenshots? You're just proving everything we said. You have no life." My hands stayed still in my lap. Did you care if I had a life when you were texting me at 11 p.m. about bounced checks? Natalie stood up again. You love acting like a martyr. I smiled, just barely. Only because I had to. Someone had to show up every time. Joel rose, folder still in hand. Is all of this real? He asked her. You used me. You used her. Natalie didn't reply. Not a single tear. No excuse. Just stillness. The kind that comes when someone's caught, and there's nothing left to say. You lied to me, Joel finally said. About everything. She flinched, but didn't fight back. I looked around the table. None of you stood up for me. And now you're upset that I stood up for myself? The silence was deafening. Mom tried again. Sweetheart, maybe we overreacted, but this is family. Let's not make this permanent. I interrupted her softly. You're not my family. Not anymore. Her lips parted. What do you mean? I pulled another envelope from my coat pocket. Dad asked, Are you okay? His voice had that hesitant tone, too little, too late. Joel opened the envelope for me. The first line made his eyebrows shoot up. These are legal documents, he said quietly. They revoke your medical power of attorney, I said, and your emergency contact rights. I've removed myself from all shared accounts. Starting today, I am not your responsibility, and you are not mine. My mom looked like she'd been hit by a truck, but you can't just cut us off like this, she said, her voice cracking. I looked her in the eye. I'm not cutting you off. I'm letting go, she whispered. Mistakes were made, but we still love you. I leaned in just a little, voice clear. No, you don't. I picked up my coat, gave the room one last look, and walked out. The air was cold. The street was quiet. For the first time in years, I felt weightless. I drove toward the lake near my childhood home, the one Dad used to take me to when things were simple. I parked, sat quietly, watched the water ripple in the moonlight, and I breathed, truly breathed for what felt like the first time in a decade. No one waiting for a wire transfer, no passive-aggressive calls, no guilt, just me, the night, and peace. Have you ever walked away from someone who made you feel small just to feel peace again? If this moment hit home, share your thoughts. I'm here, listening. The stillness of that night wrapped around me like a warm coat. It wasn't loneliness, it was clarity. I stayed by the lake until sunrise, not rushing anywhere, not needing to answer to anyone. The next day, the texts began. First from my mother. We're still angry, but we're family. Then came Natalie. You don't understand what you've done. Then Joel, divorce papers filed. Are you satisfied? More texts followed. You crossed a line. We made mistakes, but what you did was cruel. You need help. This isn't you. But I didn't reply. For once, I wasn't hesitating, wasn't wondering how to smooth things over. I ignored every message, every call, every guilt trip disguised as a check-in. And for the first time in years, I slept soundly. No more wondering when the next favor would be asked. No more. Venmo requests disguised as family emergencies. No more pretending that I didn't see through it all. The peace was almost startling. I started waking up early not out of stress, but because I wanted to. I brewed coffee slowly, made real breakfasts, booked appointments I'd been putting off for years, the dentist, the doctor, even a therapist. My heart had been bruised, but my soul, it was starting to feel whole. For the first time ever, I gave myself permission to prioritize my own well-being. I changed my emergency contact information, canceled shared accounts they had once secretly linked themselves to, blocked access to my passwords, even removed Natalie's admin rights from our old family cloud. It wasn't revenge. It was closure. A week after Thanksgiving, I got a message from cousin Laura. I didn't know who you really were until they cut you out. You paid for my music lessons. I never thanked you. I'm sorry. I didn't respond, but it helped more than she'll ever know. Then Joel messaged again. I submitted the paperwork. Everything in that folder? It all checked out. She lied to everyone. Thank you for helping me see clearly. I hadn't expected that, but it landed with a quiet weight. In the days that followed, I finally accomplished something I'd been putting off for years. I sent out a job application not locally, but to a city far away. Not because I had to, but because I could. I wasn't running away. I was moving forward. For the first time in a long while, I reconnected with old friends ones I had distanced myself from because I was always too caught up in family stuff. Some of them had seen my Reddit post. They messaged, "You were so brave. I wish I had done the same. I needed to hear this more than you know." It wasn't about money anymore. It was about boundaries, truth, healing. Some even asked, "Do you regret it?" I thought about Vince for a moment, the brother who had always stayed quiet in the background, just like me. "I just wish I had done it sooner," he had once said. Honestly, I had thought the story ended there, but with families like mine, there's never a clean break, especially when consequences start to hit. In the weeks after Thanksgiving, the silence was blissful. No calls, no guilt, no obligations. Then, one morning, I received a text from my mom. Just a photo, a cozy living room, half-decorated Christmas tree, empty floor beneath it. The caption read, "Doesn't feel the same without you, Ellie." There was a layer of guilt hiding behind every pixel. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't the room that had changed. It was me, and they could feel that. Then Natalie texted, December 23rd, "I'm sorry, just come. No one will bring it up." Followed by, "Ellie misses you. The kids don't understand what happened. Mom and Dad are falling behind on the mortgage." Then came, the bank called. Suddenly, it wasn't about mending relationships anymore. It was about money again. Every message wore a thin disguise of warmth, but the core remained the same. Fix this. For us. Then, on December 24th, a final text from Dad. "We got your message. We hear you, but we need help. We're still your family." That night, I sat by the fireplace alone. Sipped wine. Let the heat of the flames brush against my skin. There was no one else in the house. Just me and the stillness that once used to terrify me. But now it felt like freedom. The kind of quiet that didn't come with conditions or requests. The kind that whispered, "This is yours now." In January, an unknown number called me. I almost didn't answer, but something in me said I should. "Hi," a voice said. "This is Mark. I'm with the Family Foundation. Your dad gave me your number." I paused. I believe that position was dissolved 2 months ago. It's finalized. There was a long silence on the line. He cleared his throat. "Your dad said he couldn't reach you. They're looking into other options." Said they were. Stuck. I said nothing, because I already knew the truth. Without their safety net, the house of cards collapsed, and they were trying to find their way back to the ATM. Me. Sometimes peace only comes when you stop answering the wrong calls. Have you ever learned the power of silence in your own life? Let me know in the comments below. February arrived with a quiet thud. One morning, I received a small package in the mail, no return address, but the handwriting was unmistakable. My mother's. Inside were 3 pages. The first page was full of apologies, or at least attempts at them. We said hurtful things. We didn't realize how much we relied on you. The second page shifted to guilt. Your father isn't doing well. Ellie's struggling. We're alone in this. The third page? It was a pitch. We're offering the house. It's yours. We're in over our heads. If you could help us with just one more loan. I sat with the letter in my lap for a long time. There was a time when I would have read it and felt that same tug, the need to fix it all, to shoulder their burdens, to make the chaos disappear. But this time, something had changed. I folded the pages, walked to the kitchen, and dropped them into the recycling bin, because that letter wasn't an apology. It was a request. And still, they didn't want me. They wanted access. They wanted the version of me who never said no. But she's gone. They can't weaponize my silence anymore. They can't guilt me for stepping back. They can't drain me and expect me to smile through it. Not now. I got a new job, moved to a new city, a bigger apartment, a quieter life. I started spending weekends volunteering, not because someone expected it, but because I wanted to. I filled my days with purpose, not obligation. No more 11 p.m. phone calls about overdrafts. No more gaslighting. No more being the only one holding everything together. It wasn't just peace, it was wholeness. And you know what surprised me? I didn't feel regret for helping them all those years, but I did grieve the version of me who thought love had to be earned through sacrifice. People asked, "How long did it take you to stop feeling guilty?" The truth? I'm still learning, but I've also learned something else. Real love doesn't make you beg for rest. Real family doesn't leave you out in the cold and call it tough love. A few months later, I got another letter. My mother's handwriting again, different tone. All things considered, we're still your family. No change, no apology, no accountability, same hook, same script. This time, though, I didn't feel anything, not anger, not sadness, just stillness. I threw it away and went out for dinner, laughed with people who didn't want anything from me, just my company. Coming back here to this story, it's brought a kind of reflection I didn't expect. Strangers understood me better than my own blood ever did. That's the part that stings the most and also heals the deepest. So here's what I'll say. Yes, it was painful to walk away. Yes, there were nights I wondered if I was too harsh, too cold. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't surviving, I was living. And when you've spent your whole life walking on eggshells, peace can feel like a luxury. But it's not. It's a right. I've learned to sit quietly with myself, to cook meals for one and not feel lonely, to step outside and feel the sun, not because I needed to escape, but because I finally had nowhere to hide. Sometimes the phone buzzes, and I see their names flash across the screen. And sometimes, yes, I wonder how Ellie is doing. She's young, she's learning, and I hope she sees one day through someone. Somewhere that standing up for yourself isn't cruelty, it's courage. Not everyone will understand the boundaries you set, especially the ones who benefited most from you never having any. But that doesn't mean you're wrong for drawing the line. Some nights, I still feel the weight of it all, but more often, I feel the lightness that came after. I don't have a perfect ending to this story. I don't think there is one. Because family doesn't always get wrapped up with a bow. Sometimes it ends with silence. Sometimes it ends with letting go. And sometimes, if you're lucky, it ends with finding yourself again. I used to be the fixer, the quiet one, the wallet, the doormat. Now, I'm just me. That's more than enough. Have you ever found peace by finally choosing yourself? If this story resonated with your journey or even reminded you of someone, leave a heart or share your thoughts. You're not alone. Sometimes, the most painful truth is realizing that the people you gave the most to were the ones who valued you the least. For many of us, especially as we get older, there's a quiet hope that family will come together, offer grace, and return the love we poured into them. But love without boundaries often turns into expectation, and expectations, when unmet, can become entitlement. This story isn't just about financial betrayal. It's about emotional clarity. It's about reclaiming your voice after years of being silent. It's a reminder that saying no isn't cruel, it's necessary. That peace isn't selfish, it's sacred. And that walking away from family doesn't mean you failed them. It often means you've finally chosen yourself. To those watching who've ever felt like the quiet giver, the invisible backbone, or the one who was only called when something was needed, your worth was never in what you provided. It was in who you are. Have you ever reached a moment where you chose peace over people? I would love to hear your thoughts, your journey, or even your own story. Leave a comment below or send me a message. Your voice matters, and it just might help someone else find their strength too.